Hey, everybody, Patrick Henry here, and I'm excited that we are back on the back porch, which is really my office and music room and yoga studio for my wife. But Toni and I are here. Say hello, Toni. Okay, microphone. Okay.
Hello.
So we're here to celebrate Jeannie and meet some of her friends, and we've got a packed show today, and we're going to have to fit it all in 45 minutes because at 1 o'clock our time, my son's playing basketball, and since I'm the coach, there's no way in the world they're going to win without me. Just so you know, Robert asked me to coach his team this year, which was really a heartwarming moment to me until he said, but under one condition, Dad, you can't say anything. I want you to sit there. We're 16. We got this. And so what I do is I go and I sit on the side of the court and I run the clock and don't say a word.
And they had to have an adult. That was their problem. And you got lucky.
I'm not sure they got one. But,
no, I'm not sure they got the adult, but they got someone over 21.
Yeah. So anyhow, so we're going to be leaving a little bit early today, but thrilled that y'all are here. And you've been asking a lot of questions. You may notice that to my right is the smiley face bucket. Yes, Toni found the smiley face bucket and brought it over. So there's nothing in the smiley face bucket because Toni tells me if we say send your questions in, somebody's going to have to cut them up. And she's suspecting that someone may be her. But I want to keep Jeannie's tradition going so that for the next show, I'll give you plenty of warning and you can send your questions in and we'll put them in the smiley face bucket. There's Jeanne Bretts from Carmel, Indiana. Good to see you. Hey, Linda Krim, we love you. Oh, by the way, Linda Harris, once again, you came through for us and we had Paul's Donuts.
Yes, thank you, Linda. I'm sorry that we're going to have to hopefully beat your team today at 2 o'clock in the Auburn, Oklahoma basketball game.
Which brings up a good point because Toni, since Auburn is playing Oklahoma in basketball game, I'm not sure that those donuts are safe to eat.
Are they? Not sure about that either. So, but no, they are. I've already tried them.
No, sure. What a great time for a phone call. So
that generally happened. Jeannie probably made that.
That was
happen.
probably Jeannie. But anyhow, so everything we do today is in honor of Jeannie, and she's always here, looking over our shoulders. There she is. And so anyway, we're glad you're here. So I want to bring on Jane Tucker. Now, all of you know who Jane Tucker is. She's been first and foremost Jeannie's friend for over 20, 25 years. But she is the one who brought Jeannie into the world of fashion. She was her friend and her fashion consultant. She was in New York City, and so Jeannie would go up there periodically, and they would shop. And so we are making Jeannie's clothes, not all of them, but some of her clothes available for auction and her jewelry. And I know this sounds kind of odd, but a lot of people have been asking about it. And if you're a tall woman, especially, there's not a lot of great options out there. And so Jane has worked tirelessly to partnered with a Savannah auction house. And so if you are interested in having a piece of Jeannie's costume jewelry, some of her clothing items, Jane's getting ready to come on and tell you how to do that. So Jane, let's see, where are you? There you are. Hey, Jane.
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
And just so you know, everybody, Jane got on with a push of a button, no problems, no panicking, no distress.
It's a miracle. A total.
Don't brag yet. Just make sure we don't lose her.
So talk to us.
I have it plugged in, and I'm not having any problem with the internet. So hopefully I can get through 5 minutes.
So tell us what's going on with the auction. What you've been up to?
Well, it's very exciting. It's been a tremendous amount of work. The auction house, Amanda Everard, is just fabulous. She had been with Sotheby's in New York for 20 years, so she knows how to do this. But it was a massive, massive work of love. And I think it's going to be very exciting. People should, if you haven't pre-registered, register. The auction goes up on Tuesday, February 2nd. And
my mother's birthday.
Oh, yes.
Not that anybody knows that.
Groundhog's Day. And you can, take a look at all of there's 150 lots, and it will be sold by lots. And the actual sale auction will be on February 22nd, starting at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So it'll probably be about 2.5 hours. So if you want anything, you have to watch that day to make your bids. But you can bid ahead of time, but that's the day of the actual sale.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, they can go to the address at the bottom of the screen, everard.com, and
Right.
pre-register. And for the
Correct.
next 2 weeks, they can peruse the items, and then on
Yes. And if there's
okay, and
something you specifically want, you can watch it as other people make bids, and you can keep watching the bids go higher. So there's all of her beautiful clothes she wore in all of her shows. There's her shoes, which if you're an 11 medium, will be in seventh heaven. And
maybe I should bid.
I'm sure there's a lot of ladies out there that love beautiful shoes and wear that size. And a lot of her jewelry, we accessorized all of the outfits, so the jewelry is available with the outfit or separate. um, and there's shawls for people who aren't 6'2", but want something of Jeannie. So I think it's very well done. It's very exciting. It's an absolute homage to Jeannie, and I think she'd be very happy.
So Jane, a great question just came up. Are the magnetic bracelets included on the auction?
Yeah, yes, I think so. She had two or three. She had two or three crystal magnetic bracelets. So they're there. I'll make sure that they can write that in so the ladies will know. But the auction house is going to have like an open house on the 16th and 17th of February. So any of your Jeannie's fans who live in the Carolinas or Georgia or Florida can come up and go through and actually see the clothes, see the jewelry, and they'll have an open house. So that's on the 16th and 17th of February. So
Okay,
that'll
for those who are saying that there are no items listed on the auction site now, they're not going to be listed and are available to be seen until February 2nd, correct?
online February the 2nd. So
Okay.
if you're in the Savannah area, you can actually see the things. She's having an open house
Oh, I
on the
see.
16th and the 17th of February. So people can actually come in and see the clothes and the jewelry and everything. So they'll
Okay.
have it on display. But the actual sale starts at 10 o'clock on February 22nd. And so you'll have to Eastern time. So if you're in California, it'll be at 7 o'clock in the morning. But if there's
Okay.
something that you really want, you'll have to watch and watch it that day, because that's the day of the sale. But you can make bids on anything prior to that.
Okay, so that's Wednesday, February 2nd. February 2nd is a Wednesday.
It goes online, so you can see it on February 2nd, but the sale,
Yep.
the actual auction is February 22nd. So you've got 3
Understood.
weeks. So it's about 3
Understood.
weeks.
Okay.
So, but
And
Amanda, go ahead.
somebody asked, where are the proceeds going?
Oh, they're going. Jeannie wanted to do a show to raise money for the Alamance County Cancer Center, and so that's where Beaver wanted the proceeds to go to the cancer center there in Alamance County, where Jeannie had been treated.
Okay. Well, great. Great. Well, Jane, thank you so much. Once again, you've done so much work on this, and I know it's appreciated. And
Well,
and
it's bittersweet for me because, of course, every outfit, I remember when we ordered it and when she had her fittings for it, because they were all custom made for her, to make sure the sleeves were long enough and the pants were long enough. So I remember funny stories with each outfit. So it
yeah.
was been very bittersweet.
That's
But
great. Oh, by the way, so people are asking, and when you pre-register, you put in your credit card. They're not going to charge your credit card unless you ordered something. So don't
exactly.
worry about that.
No, no, nothing will be charged unless, unless you, the day of the sale, buy something. But they just have to pre-register you and clear everything. So it's, then you're, after the sale is over, then everything is erased. So people don't have
Right.
to worry. This is a very, very primo auction house. So that's first class.
Right. And of course it is. You're in charge of it. I mean, if I was in charge of it being a cattle barn.
Yeah, well, you,
Well,
only the best for Jeannie.
that's right. That's right. Well, listen, thank you so much. We love you, and thank you for organizing this. And we will have you back before the auction just to give some more updates. So thank
Wonderful.
you, Jane.
Great. Bye bye.
Bye. Okay, so Jane has done a lot of work, and we very much appreciate it. And she is just terrific, and I'm thrilled that we're remaining friends. By the way, I realize that some people are saying that we're getting some feedback on the mics. If there's a problem, let us know because I've got a feed right there. And so if you can't hear me or if it's too loud, let me know and I'll do my best to fix it. Okay, so now you have anything to say, Tony?
Not a word.
Not a word.
Bring on our
Okay.
guest.
Yeah.
Bring on our guest.
So
Oh, actually, I do.
of course you do.
Real quick, just so people know, because they keep asking. Yes, you can still get Jeannie's products available. We're well stocked. We were about to run out of the audio book with the 7 CDs. That was 7 hours and 26 minutes of Jeannie talking to Patrick in the closet. But we've reordered those. They will be delivered the first of the week. So we're well stocked with all of her product, and we have it. We want to let you buy it if you want to. It's still
Okay.
available.
Yeah. So
And the website's there.
hold on.
We also, people ask, how do you get the mugs? Remember, she always had a I love LB or a bestest friend mug in her hand. Those are available at a different website, and
It's up right now
Patrick's
on
going
the
to put them
screen.
up.
So somebody
It's here, and we're happy to help and fill your orders quickly as we can.
Right. So somebody made the comment, and not being one to let things go, I'm going to mention it again, saying that the only reason we're doing this is because this is a gold mine for us, and we're making so much money off of Jeannie's legacies, which could not be further from the truth. But it doesn't mean we're not going to try to keep selling some of her stuff. So if you're interested,
I think Jeannie wanted us to sell her stuff. She did not want us to go throw it in the garbage or something.
that's right.
She worked really hard on all this product and wanted her fans to have it, and it's here. And so we're here.
Right. And so, like, if you want some of these mugs that we still have tons of, the I Love Left Brain, Bestest Friend, things like that, you can go to the original geniestuff.com. And if you want to order the book that's arriving, the CD or any of her books or CDs or tapes, go to, let's see, let me get this one off, storejeannierobertson.com.
Okay, real quick, one more line.
Yeah.
The Jeannie wrote some earlier books. We're in the process. We don't have them because they're out of print. One is called Humor, the Magic of Jeannie. The other is Mayberry Humor Across the USA. Those are being prepared for digital download purchase.
Right.
They will be available. It's going to take probably till spring, middle of March, end of March, 1st of April, and those will be ready, and we'll certainly let you know when that happens.
Yeah. So anything that Jeannie ever produced will be available to you in one format or another. So let's get on with the show. So our guest today, he's a good friend of mine. I've known him through the National Speakers Association. You've heard him on Sirius XM Radio, and Jeannie absolutely adored him. And I'll tell you why she adored him is because he kind of is known for being Barney Fife. He's a comedian in his own right. He doesn't just do impersonations, but he's a lot of fun. And he's got a movie that's come out. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you to Rik Roberts. Hey, Rik.
Hey, Patrick, how's it going? How's it going to everybody else out there?
Oh, I'm so happy that that you're on the show. I wish Jeannie was sitting right here because she would be thrilled. We had talked about getting you on for a long time, and so I'm glad it finally happened. And as I said before, you were a big Jeannie loved you, and she not only thought you were funny, but she also loves um, Mayberry and Andy Griffith's show and anything to do with that. You do. I don't know if you got your comedy start as Barney Fife, but tell us a little bit about how you came into that character.
Well, I started comedy back in '91, and I was with an improv comedy group, and there were several scenes where they did celebrity impersonations, and I was just sitting on the sideline watching those scenes because they didn't have any celebrities to impersonate. And they said, "Man, you're missing out. You ought to figure something out to hop in that scene." So I looked backstage, and there was it wasn't a policeman's hat, but it was like a bus driver's hat or something like that. So I put it on one day and walked out on stage. I'm like, "Well, how's everybody doing out here this afternoon?" You know, and they're like, "What? You've been holding back on us, man." And so over the years, I kind of got the uniform put together and worked on the impression and different things. It became a big part of the improv show, and then a small part of my stand-up show. But I was a huge fan of the Andy Griffith Show, just like Jeannie. So we definitely connected over that and had many conversations about that show. But that was kind of the way I got into it. I've got a speech I do called the Mayberry Method that's got a lot of Barney Fife and a lot of Mayberry stuff in it. That's a lot of fun for audiences. But that was a lucky break for me to kind of channel somebody who I watched growing up as a kid and was able to pull off the impression, and people, people enjoyed it. So it's fun for me.
Well, a couple of things. So first of all, impressions is something I've always wanted to be able to do. It's just, and I think that people are born with the ability to imitate and mimic a little bit. How much work did you have to do to get it right?
Well, early on, a lot. My voice wouldn't go into the high register that he has, and it really wouldn't get into the lower register. So I recorded, it's back in the days of VCR still, so I recorded a lot of episodes, and I put my little handheld cassette recorder that I used to have when I was a news reporter next to that, and I would record just when Barney Fife was talking. And so I'd play that back, and whatever he said, I would try to say. And what I learned was I call it the Fife roller coaster. So he has a full range, and if he's excited, he does the whole thing. He's like, "Well, I got to tell you something right here, Andy. They're out there doing that, and I don't think they ought to be doing that." So he'll go whoop and back down.
That's terrific.
But I couldn't get the top part forever. So for about a month, I was walking around. I had an apartment with 2 other guys at the time, and I'm just like, "Hey, how you doing?" Every morning they're like, "Okay, you got it. Slow down. It's too much."
Put on a pair of really tight pants.
Right.
So, tell me about this movie that you're in. You said it's on Netflix.
It's on Amazon Prime. It's streaming on there.
Prime.
And if you go to mayberrymanmovie.com, there's other ways you can watch it if you don't have Amazon Prime. It's a movie called Mayberry Man. It's on DVD too. If you like to watch DVDs, I still like to order DVDs. But what it's not is a remake of the Andy Griffith Show. Nobody could do that. Even after the original series ended, they tried to reboot with Andy Griffith and some other people, and it didn't catch on. So it's not that. What it is a movie that takes place at a Mayberry festival, just like you'd see it, Mayberry Days in Mount Airy or Mayberry in the Midwest in Indiana or some of these other ones. Mm-hmm. And so they needed a guy that was a Barney Fife impersonator to be in the movie. Now, a lot of people probably know David Browning, who is impersonated Barney Fife forever at Mount Airy and different places. He didn't want to take place in the movie, and it came down. I don't know how many other Barney Fifes they were interviewing, but I finally got the call. Like, "You want to be in this thing?" I said, "Yeah, let me look it up and see what it's all about."
It's like Santa for the mall.
Yeah. There's probably 50 Barney Fifes before me. Who knows? But I read the script, and it's a really sweet script. There's nothing in the movie that wouldn't be on an Andy Griffith Show. Like, if the content and the style of it, the pacing of it is just like that. But it's a journey. A Hollywood actor who's too big for his britches rolls through a couple of red lights in his speed, and turns out he's a legacy of the Andy Griffith Show. His dad was on the Andy Griffith Show. And so the judge finds that out and says, "You know what? Instead of paying your fine, you have to go to this Mayberry Festival and talk to the Andy Griffith Show fans for a few days and represent your father." And he doesn't want any part of it because he thought the show was hokey. But through the course of the movie, he realizes it was a great show, and the spirit of Mayberry lives on beyond just Mayberry and the Andy Griffith Show. It's everywhere. Just, Jeannie even has a book, Mayberry, across the USA, where she talks about finding these little stories about little hometowns and things. So if you
Which
enjoy
will be available for download coming this spring.
I heard that, and you know what? To hear her read it would be even more fun. So
Well, that ain't
is
gonna
it
happen.
an Audible book or is it just a digital download?
Well, we missed the window on the Audible book, but
Okay.
but it will be for download.
Gotcha. But anyway, it's a great movie. It's family friendly. A lot of churches are renting it and they're putting on viewing nights, and there's ways to do all that kind of stuff too. But a lot of fun. Got
Wow.
lucky with that one.
Okay. Now, what is that behind you? Those paintings?
Yeah, that's my other hobby. When the pandemic hit, I had a lot of free time, so I
Yeah,
started painting.
as we all did.
Oh my God, I can tell you stories. I'm sure you got some too. But one of the things I did in college, for my very last semester of college, I had a couple of elective classes, and they're like, "What do you want to do with these electives?" I'm like, "I don't know, something easy." So I got into painting, which is not easy, but it was fun. And that last semester, we had to do 4 paintings, and I ended up doing like 35 because I just enjoyed it so much. But then I had no time for it until a couple of years ago. So I've got a whole series called The Men of Mayberry, and I've got 9 of the Mayberry men painted. I'm finishing off Ernest T. Bass right now, but we got Opie and his pop in the background there. And I've got
that's
some Barney Fife
terrific.
ones and Ernest T. and all that other stuff.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, the pandemic, it was crazy for all us speakers, humorous performers. I wore sweatpants so much, it was quite a shock when I had to put on pants that buckled, go shopping. Well, that's terrific. Now, I know we got Valentine's Day coming up, and I always ask the men, has your wife run out of hand lotion since last year? You guys, what's going on with you for Valentine's Day?
Well, I got to tell you, up until last year, it was super stressful every time I had to get my wife a gift because I don't know, when you first get married, it's easy. You get them a ring, then you get a bracelet to match the ring for the next holiday. But almost 20 years now, I was out of ideas. So I said, what can I get you for Valentine's Day? Said this last year to her, and she goes, how about instead of exchanging gifts, we just exchange ideas to each other on a piece of paper instead? I said, what kind of ideas? She said, I'm going to write down a couple of things you're not doing right around the house, and you can write down a couple about me. I'm like, stop right there. That's like a trap door and an escalator,
In that case, every week is Valentine's Day in our house.
Yeah, well, so you've already got to that point. Look, she told me that, and I'm like, we're going to tell each other stuff we're not doing right around the house, and that's romantic Valentine's Day. And she's like, well, if we fix those 6 or 7 things, I'm like, she's got a list started already. I'm down 6-0. Didn't know I was even playing. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, I don't have to go shopping or spend any money. It won't cost me nothing this time around. Then I realized this could cost me the house, right? So I knew she was up 6-0 on me. So I started thinking, what is she not doing right? And I realized she could do stuff different, but she's not doing anything wrong. I wrote down one little idea. We go out to eat for Valentine's Day. And while we're waiting, I said, what am I not doing right? She goes, here's the big thing, buddy. And I know I'm in trouble. She calls me buddy because that's what she calls my kids when they're in trouble. It's like, if I ask you to fix something around the house, could you just do it the same year I ask you to do it? I'm like, I thought I was pretty good. She goes, I'll ask you to change a light bulb. You wait till every light bulb in the fixture burns out. Then you change them all at once.
That's called economy of motion.
The extras. Duh, I didn't say that, but I was thinking it real loud. I said, honey, I'll try harder. She goes, what about me? I said, you're not doing anything wrong. I want to be clear about that. But one thing I missed before we had our kids, if I was home on the weekend, I wasn't traveling, you make me this big old surprise breakfast, like Cracker Barrel in the house. It was great. I said, but it's hard to do that with the schedule now, but I miss it. Now I look back across the table, and she had started tearing up and crying right there at the Hardee's on Valentine's Day. I said, listen, I didn't mean to make you cry. It's a compliment. She goes, oh, that's what a compliment sounds like. I'm like, whoops, I'm down 12-0 now at least. So I said, you don't have to make me a big breakfast, but that's the only thing I could think of to mention. She goes, all right, no biggie, Well, the next morning, Patrick, I wake up 6 a.m. I smell maple syrup and pancakes. And I run downstairs, and my sweet wife had bought a candle somewhere that smells exactly like Cracker Barrel. You ever been hungry and mad at 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
I walk downstairs in the dark. I'm like, what are you doing with that candle? It's like, oh, I had to use it. The last light bulb just burned out. Like, oh. I woke myself up.
That's funny. I'll tell you, your wife asked you to to fix things around the house. My wife asked me not to try to fix things around the house.
Well,
She can always tell when I've been at work.
yeah, we've got a drippy faucet right now, and I know if I try to fix it, it's going to cost us about $6,000. And
That's right. That's right. So my wife, Leslie, says that I have the bright, shiny object syndrome. And she knows if she comes home and she sees a half-trimmed bush or that I'm probably in the backyard doing something else because I got distracted because something bright and shiny flew by.
you're chasing the squirrel that popped out of the bush.
Don't say it too loud. That's great. Now, you got kids, don't you?
Yeah, and I get to spend a lot more time with them last couple of years, which has been great. Is a blessing in disguise. I didn't realize that my whole family was kind of based on me not being here, so it took it took a while for them to adjust.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Well,
my 9-year-old.
tell me about your
after about
tell
a
me
month
about
of
your
being,
kids.
well, I think they get away with a little bit more when I'm not home. So they wanted me to be gone. And about a month into it, my daughter looked across the table. She's 9. She goes, "Why are you here all the time now?" I'm like, well, and this, they actually came up with a title for our job called non-essential. And I tried to explain that to her. I said, I can't go to work if I wanted to because we can't meet. They called me non-essential. She goes, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "Oh, it's something that's nice to have, but you don't have to have it." She goes, "Oh, I get it. Kind of like your hair." Like, or your college fund.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man. Yeah, my kids started looking at, especially my son Robert would look at me with just a look of pity.
Yeah.
Like, "You're not working still?" I'm like, "It's not my fault. There's a pandemic."
That, and then the fact when they, we had that middle phase what's brought on what we're doing now is doing stuff through video, and that's such a learning curve. And it's I remember the first time I did a Zoom comedy show. In the comment section, I didn't know she was talking about the lighting and the sound, but she goes, "This guy looks dim and he doesn't sound that bright." I'm like, I got hecklers online.
That's right. I could not. I mean, I've done a few virtual presentations, but I could not do a comedy bit because, I mean, I don't know how you do it if you can't hear the laughter, or you can, whatever they do. I just couldn't do that. I mean, I need to have that face to or that live interaction.
Yeah, it was weird. I did a couple where they would mute the audience, the viewers, and it didn't work like you said. And I would have to at the end, I say, put in the comment section if you had a good time, because I have no idea. But after a couple of those, I said, you know what? I don't care if they've got a dog barking or they live by the airport or they're inside of a change machine. I don't care what it sounds like. I just want to hear something coming back. And I was able to put in one ear plug here and a microphone. What do you call it? The ear pod or whatever on the other. So I could kind of hear myself and hear them without it being bounced back too much. So I figured a way out to do it. But man, of course, we'd all rather be around in person. We're built for fellowship for sure.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't know how you were. I know during the pandemic, I started putting on weight and had to take it off. And so now, December every year now is the time that I can go ahead and have my last delicious meals before I start dieting in January. How about you?
Yeah, I had put on some pounds over the years, just naturally traveling. You don't make time for exercise like you should. And then the pandemic hit. I'm like, yeah, I should go get a checkup and see. They kept talking about underlying conditions. And I'm like, I have no idea because I haven't been to the doctor in 40 years. I have no clue. So it turns out I've got high cholesterol. And I mean, I don't know if you know what your cholesterol number was. Mine was 425. Which
was your blood moving?
It was syrupy. It was the highest in my county. So I got to go to regionals and I got to the gravy bracket before this butter eater from Memphis knocked me out. But my doctor just freaked out. Like, he's like, you need to change your diet and your exercise programs. I'm like, I don't have either program to change. I can't do it. He said, why don't you get on a diet and come back and we'll recheck your numbers in about a month. So he didn't say what diet. I got on the Atkins diet because I could still eat meat on that one. Not the right thing to be doing, but I could eat meat. But it's hard to stick with. I don't know if you've ever seen the Atkins diet. You're supposed to eat meat 4 or 5 times a day. Then it says smoke you a cigarette and take a nap. I mean, it was the Chet Atkins diet.
Oh.
So then he
Listen.
said, if you can't to get on a diet, why don't you exercise? And I said, I don't know. What do you want me to do? He said, why don't you ride a bike 3 or 4 times a week for an hour at a time? I said, I'll tell you why not. I'm 53. I mean, when you see a man my age on a bicycle, you don't think he's exercising. You're like, that guy had a repo or a DUI, right? So I didn't want to do that. Then he said, we got medicine. I said, well, I know, because every show I watch, I don't care if it's Wheel of Fortune or American Pickers, it's all pill commercials. And the side effects are way worse than what you started off with. You know, some of them have explosive side effects. So you got to really time out your day, it sounds like. And bringing that up, I actually saw a commercial the other day for a Pepto-Bismol, which I don't know if you've seen this. There's a new one out. I don't know why they needed to change Pepto. It's been working for years. But it says now it comes with a healthy dose of melatonin, so you can get right back to sleep. Now, I don't know about you, Pat. I'm not a big fan of diarrhea. Never been. Probably never will be. However, I would like to be awake should it happen again. All right.
That was the day you started sleeping in the yard.
I was going to say, my wife doesn't even like when I snore in bed. She ain't putting up with this.
That's funny. That's funny. Well,
I'm on Lipitor now, so if you're wondering, I've got it down. Although that was a big side effect too. When I'm on generic, thank goodness, because my Lipitor prescription was $8 a day. That's a Big Mac and a side of fries, $8. I couldn't do it.
That's probably how they got your cholesterol down.
Yeah, they got my blood pressure up when I saw that first bill.
That's great. Well, somebody mentioned, why do you keep saying during the pandemic? We're still in the pandemic. Yes, we are still in the pandemic, and I'm very aware of that. But I think we're a little bit more used to it now. We're used to kind of what we have to do to manage the pandemic and to try to stay safe. And I've found that it's a lot easier to stay at home than wear a mask. And so I only wear masks on airplanes and when I have to be out. But we're pro-vaxxers in our family. We believed in going and getting the jab, and just felt safer since we couldn't keep Toni and Tom, my father-in-law, away from us. I said, well, if they're going to keep coming over, we're going to have to get vaccinated. And what about you? I mean, I don't want to make a political discussion, but it's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I probably should say the lockdown, because that was a phase of the
pandemic. That's better.
Where there's the lockdown, the pre-vax phase, the post-vax, and the post-booster, and the pre-Omicron 75 or whatever we're in now. But yeah, because of travel and because my age group that I speak to is typically my age and up, so a lot of people that were high risk. I just thought, once it was tested, I'm like, I'll get it and everything. I had no reactions, but my friends didn't like the fact I got vaccinated. Some of them, half of them, the way it works out. I couldn't wait. When they first announced they had the vaccine, I'm like, I want to sign up. They're like, well, if you're over 150, come on down to Walgreens. We got you covered. If you rode on a boat with Noah, come on down here. And by the time I got to 65, it just stayed there because we have so many people, especially across the whole country, that are in that age group. And I wanted to get mine early. So a friend of mine said, if you go to these pharmacies, about half hour before they close, they might have an extra dose where nobody showed up. And they don't care what age you are at that point. They'll just give it to you. So I started hanging out, cruising all the pharmacies, like last call, just like back in college, That's when I felt like Marty Fife. I'm like, hey, young lady, if nobody else shows up, you want to give me a shot? And then I got one early, and I told my friend Gary, I said, you need to go to this pharmacy because they've got extras. And he was against it. He's like, you know what? You're not even thinking. You got to watch what you put into your body. I'm like, Gary, that's true, but we are sitting at Golden Corral right now, okay? You just put a corn dog in the chocolate fountain. You don't
and came in from a smoke break.
Came in from a smoke break with the cook who's on the burger grill, okay?
That's funny. Well, I'm always nervous about, like, one thing Jeanne did. She would not talk politics. She would not talk religion. And I agree with that because people have very strong opinions about it, and I respect and honor your opinion. And we're not here to say anybody's opinion's wrong.
But what's weird is the people. I think if I've learned anything, and I try to learn stuff still, is that we just need to have more patience with people. And once you just understand half the country is doing it different than you, no matter what side you're on, then you should just cut everybody a break. Like I was headed into a Walmart a couple of weeks ago, And they had a sign on the door that says, "You don't have to wear a mask, but if you don't mind, put it on to protect our workers." I'm like, "No biggie. I got one in my pocket." I go to put it on. I haven't got inside yet. And this lady pops out of nowhere like a pandemic genie. She's like, "Sir, I don't know if anybody's explained this to you or not, but you don't have to wear them outside. It ain't a good look and it ain't doing nothing for you." And I just stepped back and took a look at her, and she's wearing socks and Crocs and a pajama top. I'm like, right back at you.
Well, I was at the dermatologist the other day. You know, when you have my kind of skin, when you hit 40, which I did 10 years ago, they're going to cut something off of you every time you go. So every 6 months I go to the dermatologist. And then so I went, I was standing there, and the PA came in and she said, "Go ahead and strip down to your underwear and please keep your mask on." So there I stand in my underwear, black socks, and my mask. And I didn't know what to do. She was going to come in, and I didn't want to start cutting on me while she was laughing.
Yeah.
So where do you want me to wear this mask?
Yeah, I did a stress test where I had to get on a treadmill. You know, they test your heart rate and all that stuff. And so I'm wearing she's like, "Can you take your mask off for this?" I'm like, "Thank you. I've never been inside anywhere where I could take my mask off yet. I'll stay on the treadmill as long as you want me to." But
that's right. Well, okay, enough talking about masks. Somebody's going to get offended. I don't know why, but now, you know, you talked about your kids. Remind me if you already said that, to say we already talked about it. But I want, you know, I've got 3 kids, and my kids are a big part of what I talk about from the stage. I mean, I've got Jack. He's 20 years old, and he's at NC State University. And I always tell people, I said, you know, he's my stepson. We have nicknames for each other. I call him Jackaroo. He calls me, "You're not my real dad. You can't tell me what to do." But now he just calls me when he needs money. And then I got Robert, who's 16. He's the one I'm getting ready to go watch play basketball here shortly. And I got Meredith, who's 13. And I got a song about her I'm going to play for you. How old are your kids again?
yeah, so my youngest is 9. She's great. She's in the other room right now.
For now, she's great.
Yeah, you can't beat it. And then my
Wait till you hear the song, Rik.
Wait till they turn 13.
Well, my son's 16, so I'm kind of in the same boat with you there. And I don't know about you, but what's funny is when I was 16, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license, get some freedom, crank up my CDs. And I'm having to twist my son's arm. And all of his friends are like that. They don't want to get a driver's license. They think it's potentially dangerous and might lead somewhere like a job or an occupation. You know, so I had a head-on collision with something that might pay a couple of bills down the road. But so I'm still driving him and his friends around. There was a 16th birthday party. I had to drive him and 4 of his friends downtown to Top Golf, which I don't know if you've ever been to Top Golf. This is genius. Somebody just ripped off the back of a Best Western and you hit golf balls into a field. I mean, you saved half your price on demo. But anyway, he said, "Will you take us down there?" I said, "Yeah," but I wasn't thinking. I got 5 teenage boys in my car. Voices, I never heard so many voices cracking. And it sounded like I was hauling donkeys down I-65. Like, "Is that downtown? Is that where they play hockey? Is that a honky tonk?" I'm like, I was driving a puberty Uber. Come on, fellas.
Uber.
Crack a window. We got to put on some DO for the BO back there. You know?
That's right. Well, my daughter's 13, and we almost lost her recently. She almost died of embarrassment, apparently. I drive, she and her, like my son drives. So I mean, it's not like when we were in school. When we were in school, we went to school at like 7:30, and we didn't leave campus until 3:30 or 4. But Robert, his first class is at 10 o'clock, and then he takes an online class, and then he goes back and does a college course and comes. I mean, he's in class less than I was when I was in college. But I do drive Meredith and her friends. They have a group. They call themselves the Squad. And so I'm driving these 4 girls to school, and I'm hearing stuff. I wear my AirPods now, so I don't have to listen to them. It embarrasses me. But so you got a 9-year-old, a 16-year-old anymore?
No, you know, although my wife has recently started talking about adoption, and I was like, "You better slow down. I don't think anybody is going to take these kids off our hands at this point."
That's funny.
Start with the young one. I barely know her. She hasn't hit 16 yet, so let's go ahead and nip it in the bud.
Well, it's funny because I tell people, I say, when we get married, I've discovered that a lot of people if they want kids, they have a number of kids in mind. Some people want one, some two, some three. Some people don't want any kids. We were that couple. We didn't want any. We don't want any kids, and we're going to tell them next week. I hope they don't get too upset. But hey, I know you do a lot of music in your presentations or your comedy, and I do too. I want to play a song that I wrote for my daughter. I mentioned that she's 13. And this is a new song. Let me take these off so I can read the lyrics off the screen. Can you hear that okay, Rik?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Daddy, can I paint your toes? Let's play dress up in princess clothes. Watch how many times that I can spin and twirl. I hold her close after a nightmare, sing back to sleep in my rocking chair. Oh, the joys of bringing up a little girl. I know she'll always feel this way. She can tell me anything, just like the day she turned 13. She looked me right in the eyes. My heart filled up, tried not to cry. She said something I'll always take with me. She said, "Ugh, you're so weird. You don't understand. Dad, steer clear. I need my space.
Yeah.
Your jokes are bad. You're so embarrassing. And you smell, Dad." Well, what happened to my precious little girl? This change has surely rocked my world. This is something for which I was unprepared. Well, she looks the same there in her party dress, but I think she may be demon possessed. That's life, living with a 13-year-old girl. She used to gaze so lovingly, now she just rolls her eyes at me. Not allowed in their bathroom anymore.
Yeah.
Well, these teenage years are really hard, and I'm tired of peeing in the yard. Oh, the joys of raising a 13-year-old girl. Life was cotton candy and bubble gum. Now it's makeup, hairpins, and tampons. More drama than a Broadway show. I know she'll come back to me one day, and I'll be here waiting patiently, even if she's 31 years old. But until then, it's I'm so weird. I don't understand. I need a beer. Well, I'll give her space, but man, my jokes, they're not that bad. I may be embarrassing, darling, but I'm still your dad.
Yeah.
And I love you, 13-year-old girl. So take that.
That was great.
Thank you. That one's relatively new. I had to read the words on that one.
Well, I tell you what, at my age, I'm reading the words on the old ones too, so it's all right.
Well, it's funny because when I played, for a few years when I lived in Nashville, I played in bands and we traveled all over the country. And as you know, Nashville's a great town to tour out of because it's centrally located for the people you want to be around. And but we used to play a lot of casinos, and I kind of developed a reputation that for forgetting my words to my own songs, and so they'd always slip a lyric sheet underneath me.
Yeah.
But now, does your wife like when she watches you perform? Does she get nervous like mine does? Still,
No, I don't think so. I think she. She met me early on. I was probably 7 or 8 years into comedy when she met me, so she's always been around it. And she kind of knows. Yeah. If she walks into a situation and she can see like the sound is bad or the lights are bad or the audience is 60 feet away, like she knows what I know will make a good show happen. So she'll say, "Oh boy, you got your work cut out for you here," or she'll go, "Hey, this should be a great time. It's all set up right." But as far as the material, she'll have people come over to her after the show and say, "Is that real?" And she'll go, "Well, yeah, it started that way. Then he took it somewhere else." But
yeah, that's right.
But all the inspiration comes from real stuff. I'm a creative guy, but I'm not creative enough to make up some of the situations that I'm in. I couldn't even dream some of them up. So having somebody around that's she'll actually say, "Hey, you should probably write that down and do something with that. That's kind of funny." And I'm like, "Oh, I wasn't even. We were just talking, but you're right. It's like she said the
Yeah.
other day. She goes, she said exactly that. She goes, I want you to communicate more, but I'm tired of hearing you talk." And
Oh, I love it.
I was thinking the same thing about you, but I didn't know how to say it.
Yeah, that's probably best you didn't. Leslie, I know, I mean, Leslie will not, um, if it's not funny, she'll tell me, even
Yeah.
though I'll argue with her. And she said, if you're having to argue, it's not funny.
Yeah.
But if she laughs out loud, I write it down because I know it's, but Leslie still gets nervous because she knows I'm going to forget a lyric. Or if I start to stray a little bit, she starts to panic because she don't know if I'm going to make my way back.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, that was especially true the first few shows back when things opened up a little bit and you could get back on stage. I remember doing a show. My first full hour back was at 8 a.m. in Alabama in a 3-wide ballroom that had 60 people in it. I mean, they had to be 150 feet away from me closest. And I can't even tell you how many things I forgot in that first show, that time of day, after 3 months off of doing live stuff, and I thought, man, I probably should have had a little cheat sheet up there for that show. And once you forget one, your brain is thinking about that and you're forgetting part of the next thing.
Yeah.
Once you get that big laugh, you relax and you remember everything. It's a weird thing.
Right.
Very weird.
It's like when we rehearse, we don't do it with adrenaline pumping through our veins. And so when that adrenaline hits, then all of a sudden the brain starts going a little crazy. But well, listen, I wish we had you on a different day where we could go longer, but I got to get down to the Y to watch my kid play basketball.
Well, Rik, we have a lot of people who say, please have him back. So will that work?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
I'd love for you to come back.
Jeanne was such a cool person. And the first time I met her, we had both heard each other on Sirius XM because early they didn't have any clean comedians to put on there. So they played a lot of Carla Hurley and Jeanne. And so I'd heard her forever. And when we first met, we clicked right off the bat. And so when I watched some of these back porches that you guys did with her and since. And when Patrick hollered at me and I talked to the Nashville people and Al suggested, I thought, why not? This would be great. And I'm so glad I joined y'all today and hope to come back sometime. I can bring my guitar next time. We can jam out.
Yeah, let's plan on it because I want you to play some songs and I know you got some shows coming up. If they want to see where your shows are they listed on your website?
Yeah, the easiest thing to do, and you might want to spell my name for them or show it on the screen again, but it's Rik Roberts. There's no C in Rik. If you go rikroberts.com, right underneath the header on the home page, it says click here for schedule. I'm going to be in Wilmington, North Carolina coming up. I'm going to be in Eastern Kentucky near Somerset and London coming up. I'll be here in Nashville. Those are all public shows. And the public shows on my website will have a line where you can click it and find out about tickets and stuff like that. Do a lot of corporate events, but the public ones are always listed that way so you know which ones you can get to.
Okay. Well, y'all check out rikroberts.com. You'll see where I've posted RIKROBERTS and check out the shows. If he's in your area, you got to go see him because this, like he said, one reason Jeanne was so popular, I think, was because she didn't feel the need to use profanity or blue humor. And Rik's the same way. Someone you can bring to take your kids to see or your grandmother and you're not going to be embarrassed. So Rik, thank you so much for joining us and count on coming back because you've been a great guest and I can tell that everybody loves to see you. So we'll see y'all next time. And as Jeanne used to say, y'all keep them laughing. See you later.